Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
And rescuing cats.
I've never rescued a cat before.
Yes, you have. We have Swanson.
But not from the perils of fire.
Are you trying to set our cat on fire?
No, I'm trying to set up a nice segue to the game we're talking about today.
Which is?
Race to the Raft. Ba-ba-lamp.
Today we're doing a sponsored merit preview of Race to the Raft.
For those of you who are new here, a merit preview is where we take a look at the memorability, the education, the replayability, the imagination, and the target for this game.
Which is what merit means, duh!
Exactly. Clever thinking.
So, take it away, Tyler.
Race to the Raft is published by the City of Games, it's designed by Frank West, and it's illustrated by Miguel de Silva and Frank West.
Well, this game is a continuation from the Isle of Cats.
Continuation.
In the Isle of Cats, you're rescuing cats from various islands from Lord Vesh, who is very evil and spreads fire to the islands.
What a character. What a character.
In this game, these are the leftover cats that we forgot to rescue.
No, how
So now
could we?
they're stumbling their way through the island to get on the raft before the fires consume them.
Oh no. Hopefully they make it. But with that out of the way, let's take a quick look at how to play this game before we dive into the merit.
Race to the Raft is a 1 to 4 player tile placement game in which you're working cooperatively to get cats off the island. As always, you'll begin by setting up. Within the game, there's a tutorial that gradually introduces various rules and elements. For the purpose of the overview, we'll be showcasing a full campaign scenario. First, you'll set up the board based on the scenario chosen. You'll place the island boards on the table, the location, raft, and fire cards in the indicated positions, and finally, cat figures on all visible starting spots on the location cards. If the scenario includes objective tokens, place them on the raft in the indicated space. You'll then shuffle the 4 pathways decks and set them near the board, along with a fire bag and 3 water tokens. You'll distribute the meow and talk tokens amongst players based on the player count, and you're now ready to begin. Race to the Raft is played over unlimited rounds until you either win with all your cats to the raft, or lose by being overcome with fire. In each round there are 3 phases: drawing, playing cards, and resting. In the drawing cards phase, players will each draw 3 cards from a combination of the 4 decks. Each of the deck back is indicative of the types of terrains and the quantity you may see in the deck. For example, this one contains many cards with blue and red, but you will not see purple in this deck. The distribution is also for the whole deck, not for each card. So even though it has red on its back, it doesn't mean that every card will have red. You may discuss strategy and what you want to do prior to drawing, but as soon as the first card is drawn, all talking must end until everyone has drawn their 3 cards. Now in the second phase, players will play cards to add pathways to the island or to move a cat. It is up to you as a team to decide who will play a card next, meaning there's no turn order. Once you're chosen to play, you can add a path by placing one of your cards onto the board. Then you'll take a tile at random from the fire bag and place that on the board as well. Now there's a few placement rules for both cards and fire tiles. Your cards and tiles must fully sit within the edges of the island and line up with the squares visible. Tiles and fire cannot overlap any squares containing fire or cat figures. They also cannot go under existing cards or tiles. They can be rotated as well and can fully or partially overlap previously placed cards. And last, fire tiles must be placed adjacent to existing fire, so there's at least 1 square touching. Now in between turns, you may opt to use a water token to remove any 1 fire tile from the island and return it to the bag. This can be beneficial, but you will lose 1 point from your final score. Now the other action you can take is moving a cat. You'll discard a card from your hand and move the cat across their favorite terrain any amount of spaces. Now the favorite terrain must be connected in order for the cat to move through. Upon completion of the movement, the cat will be exhausted. If you wish to move an exhausted cat, you'll need to discard 2 cards instead of 1. Now cards are discarded into a disaster pile. As soon as 4 or more cards are in it, a disaster occurs. You'll discard the 4 cards and randomly draw a fire tile and place it on the island following the placement rules. Now you may discuss as a team prior to each card being played, but once a player is selected to play a card, all talking must stop. The chosen player will reveal their card, perform the action, and once that action is complete, the team may discuss once more. Now, what can you discuss? Well, your pathway cards will always be kept a secret. You may never show them to another player. However, you may mention colors shown on the card. The primary rule to follow is avoid saying anything that gives an indication of how many squares of color your card has. For example, you can say, my card would be good for blue, and my card is good for green and okay for purple. But you may not say, my card has a line of purple, or my card would complete the red path. You also have communication tokens. You can discard your talk token and start talking. Only you and the current player may freely talk during their action. You can also discard a meow token. Until the current pathway card or fire tile has been played, you may say meow as many times as you like, however you like, but you may not use any other words. Now, after everyone has played all their cards, it's time to rest. Any exhausted cats are stood back up, and you can now begin a new round. Now, you'll keep playing until you either win or lose the game. You'll win as soon as all the cats are on the raft card, or lose if at any point a player has to place a fire tile on the island and there's no more valid spaces, or it is no longer possible for a cat to get on the raft. Now, if you won, you'll score points. You'll gain 5 points for completing a scenario and additional points for the water tokens you have left. Now, you can choose another scenario to play. Now, as the campaign scale, additional rules are added. These include rescuing friends, where trapped cats of the same color must come together, close to, where cats need to stay within 5 spaces of each other at all times, and the Oshucks cat, which will need to follow a specific Oshucks paths laid out on the tiles. There is also an advanced mode. In advanced mode, you may only move a cat up to a maximum of 5 spaces per movement. Also, instead of drawing a fire tile for disasters, you'll draw a disaster card. And finally, there's a free action that's given when each cat reaches the raft, which includes a player either drawing a pathway card or moving a cat up to 5 spaces. But this is only in advanced mode. Will all of your cats get off the island? Or will they perish in a fire? No, they'll get off the island. I have faith.
I hope so too.
No cats left behind.
No cats left behind.
So let's kick it off with memorability. What makes this game memorable?
I'll start by saying that there are a lot of tight decisions that need to be made leading to tight finishes in this game. And you've got to kind of take that time to plan before you start just going for it, or you might not be so successful.
And I think earlier on in the game, it's really easy to make a mistake. And as soon as you make the mistake and you see it, you're just like, no, the cats!
Yeah, exactly.
So you quickly learn and you come back to it because you want to, all of a sudden you want to take the knowledge you've taken from the game and apply it to the next one, which is really great.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll add too is the table presence of this game is just beautiful. There's a lot going on. There's a little maze of tiles, and anytime we've seen this game on the table, you always want to dive in and look at the intricate art within the tiles. You want to see how the cats are going to go, and generally it draws everybody in.
Yeah, 100%. And even like placing the tiles on it, it's very like satisfying to place cards that match up with the other cards, and you end up making this beautiful path of whatever color it is that you are going for.
Until the fire overtakes it.
That is true.
Which is a reality. Islands are burning.
But that's another reason why this game is so memorable, is the theme of this game. Not only does it kind of draw back to Isle of Cats, but it brings you to this space where these cute little cats really do need saving. It's your job to complete that. And
you can try again.
Yeah, exactly. How bad are you going to feel if you don't succeed?
You'll just try again. Rewind time zones, and then you're good.
So it really pushes you to want to succeed, to want to try again. And I think that's a really, really key piece to making this game memorable.
The last thing I'll add for memorability before we finish it off is there is a cat token that you can discard, because you can't communicate in the rounds.
During your placing.
During your placing, yes. But you can discard a cat token to help somebody out, but all you can do is meow.
Yes, yeah. I
So
think
you
that's
can
very fun.
go meow, 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 or meow, 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 meow. You can't point. You can only meow.
Yeah, just use different meowing tones.
So-
and it'll be fantastic.
And I think that's just setting you up for laughter, which is always great.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, they didn't have to do that, but they went the extra mile because you do have like a person token that you can
And
discard.
cats meow.
And yeah, you can actually talk with the person token, but not with the meow token.
No.
Cat token.
Well, let's jump into the next section, which is education.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can kick this one off. To
You
build
sure
off
can.
the point that I was talking about earlier is this, it's a spatial puzzle that you really learn from. Because I remember even placing a tile, making sure that you have the square that you can place a tile in, because you you put the fire in, not really knowing what it's really blocking, but all of a sudden you literally just cannot physically place your 3x3.
Yeah, maybe it's too close to the raft.
Maybe it's too close to the raft. Maybe the way that the cat is standing. It's a really cool learning experience because there's a tutorial in this game, and as you learn, you make all the mistakes, and the mistakes aren't really evident right away until you make them, and you're like, oh no, how could I have done that? So you're trying to backtrack the cat, you're trying to see what you can do with a fire, but it becomes really tricky, and I think it makes you want to learn and be better in each of the games. And because there's over 80 scenarios,
Holy moly.
that's a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
Some of them you walk into and you even say, like, how is this even possible? So the challenge of those spatial puzzles are a fantastic educational element here.
That actually is a good segue into the next educational point, and I think that a lot of what this game does really well and teaches you is planning ahead is really important. If you take the time that is given to you, not that there's a limited amount of time, but take the time to talk to your table about what needs to be going on, who needs to take what cards, and of course I think what this game does really well is it doesn't force an alpha gaming perspective where everybody gets this opportunity to get their own little 2 cents into the
Moment to
conversation, and then on top of that, when they're placing, they have to do it how they feel like they should be doing it. Now of course people can grab and discard their person cat tokens, but that's a whole other layer.
Limited amount, so you can only do that a few times. But you really can't alpha game in this game.
No, I don't think so. The restriction of conversation during a turn is very good at stopping that.
And I think that's a perfect segue to the last point, is just communication and delegation. Because there's that level of trust where you can say, you can handle the yellow cat. And someone says, yeah, I have the tiles that can benefit the yellow cat. And you know what? We're going to trust that person. We're going to pass it to them. We'll see what they do. And it helps you build trust and almost team build with your team members.
Yes.
And that's a good sign of a cooperative game to me, is that it allows that opportunity to build your team and really get together and really build some communication strategies as well. And this game does exactly that. Because you have to be vague around the discussion.
Yeah.
But,
I don't want to play. I want to play.
Yeah, I don't want to play.
I can't
Or
play.
I can play for red.
Yeah.
I'm not okay for purple, so don't count on me for purple. So it leaves you to be a little bit creative around some of those too, and provide the best information you can to your team in order to
Exactly.
succeed.
Succeed.
To success.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'll just throw out, which I think is pretty obvious, is it teaches you some patience, because you are going to have those tight decisions and maybe something doesn't get placed as properly as you think it should be, but that's not something you can go back and change now. So patience, adaptability, those key traits I think are definitely things that this game helps you work on.
And conflict management. If Tyler continues making bad moves, you can't just be mad at him.
You never make bad moves.
That's true. He's pretty good at
Just
moves.
kidding.
But just great way of communication.
Exactly.
But that is our education section. Educated.
Well, now we can talk about replayability.
Replayability.
Nice. Let's get into it. What do you think about the replayability of this game?
Wonderful. Well, we said it before, there's 81 base scenarios in this game. I believe with the Kickstarter there's going to be more.
Could be even more. Who
In
knows?
the Kickstarter pack, but there's a lot of variety, and the campaign here isn't progressive, so there's not really a storyline with it. It's just variety of different puzzles. And there's tutorials, there's advanced modes, there's a lot of variation you can play to really cater to your group.
Yes.
Because if your group is really struggling with maybe some of the advanced concepts, or is just really struggling to get to a place, there's a campaign for you. So there's a scale of practices of different sections you can really dive in.
Yeah. I think another point just to add there is, because there's so many scenarios, you can choose to just play 1 or 2, and the scenarios go pretty quickly. So you don't have to worry about planning for like a whole evening. I mean, of course, if you want to play a whole evening of this game, it's definitely possible. But each round and each puzzle only takes about 20 to 30 minutes.
If that.
And maybe even slightly less.
I guess with more people, we're talking from more of a 2-player perspective, but with more players it definitely could be longer. But depending on how fast you make decisions, each scenario is pretty short.
Yeah, and I think basically what that comes down to is there's a lot of play in the box.
The last thing I'll mention about replayability is with the variable tiles, the variable draw piles, the way you can rotate and flip various map tiles, you're never going to see the same scenario.
Yeah.
And even if you think you've solved something really well, going back to it again, you can have the same strategy, you just may not draw the cards.
Yep.
And that really changes it up. So this game feels very different each time you play it. And genuinely, you can play the same scenario over and over and just really challenge yourself, maybe to do it faster or to create or put more constraints on yourself using some other restrictions. But
maybe you've got some house rules you want to toss in to make it more harder on yourself.
Tough.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But that is a good point, because when you are drawing cards, it is completely well, there's not complete randomness, like the composition of each of the decks, but there's 4, and the combination of cards because of that is countless, especially when you add in more and more players.
Well, it's really cool how they did it too, because you'd think that every card will have like 30% red, but it's the whole deck. So there's cards you draw that might not even have the predominant color, and then you're like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking of what to do, let's talk about the imagination.
Not sure I quite draw the line where that connection should be, but I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Well, I think you mentioned this a little bit in the first point of the theme of this game is really fun.
Yes.
You're rescuing cats, thinking logically, and really doing your best to create the path for them to get on the raft. And you're going to be invested because you're trying to get those cats off the island. You don't want them to be consumed by fire.
Yes, that is very true. I think the story that carried over from the Isle of Cats games really shines in this game, because it is true. You don't want to leave any cats behind, but sometimes it ends up happening. And then this Lord Vesh dude wants to cause even more chaos. What is this? So you've got this creative transition into a whole nother game, same universe, similar story, and it just flows really nicely and adds just that much more to this game.
And I think the thematic touch of limiting discussion is really interesting as well, because in reality, you are going to be interacting with cats scattered across all the islands. So if you're supporting one, you likely can just listen to all the other cats and all the other opinions of what to do.
Yeah.
So even a lot of those small thematic touches are really fun. The way the Awshuck's cat comes in, there's a lot of really cool integration from the previous games into this as well. And we love board game universes.
Exactly. Well, and even to that point, there are specific connections within this game that just add to, I know a cat that needs to be by or the last in or something like that.
Yeah.
It really adds to the game when there are these thematic integrations to the puzzle, making it more difficult, but also extremely relatable.
And the last thing I'll mention here, or will mention here, is it's very nostalgic to the Floor is Lava.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sure we've all played the Floor is Lava at some point and just jumped on kitchen counters, tables, couches, and tried to avoid the floor. This is basically that, but with cats on an island. Yeah. They're just trying to avoid the fire. So
where do I need to get
the
to
island's
survive?
lava, get out of here.
Exactly.
So I like that element of it too, because it kind of gives that nostalgic vibes too.
Yes. Yeah. And last but not least, let's talk about the target for this game.
Who made this game before?
That is a great question. I think the obvious here is if you are a fan of Isle of Cats and that world that has been created along with that game, you'll probably enjoy Race to Raft. The other more obvious thing that I would say is if you're a puzzle lover, if you're interested in getting a game that really pushes your brain a little bit, makes your brain crunch, then I think Race to Raft provides that puzzly aspect in a unique way compared to some other puzzle games out there.
Yeah, and to build on that as well, if you're a completionist, having so many scenarios and sitting down and trying to get through all of them and getting the best score, if you really like that in games, this game definitely has that. There's so many different scenarios, and each of them provides a different type of puzzle, a different type of challenge. So, and you can play this game solo as well.
Yeah, true.
So, and there's a lot of scalability with this. So I think it really caters to all types of audiences. You can really bring this and introduce this game at very base rules to anybody. But if you're looking for something more complex and brain crunchy, this game definitely has it as well.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It is a really inviting game. It's pretty easy to pick up on, easy to teach, easy to learn, and you don't actually have to, again, we've said this before, you don't have to worry about the alpha gaming aspect. And on top of that, it's not turn-based. So you're playing this game with everybody has cards in their hand and they can play as you all see fit. And it's very interesting to not be stressed out while trying to solve a puzzle, going around the table, having to take your turn by turn kind of thing.
Yeah. And that is our merit preview of Race to Raft.
Hey!
You can check out this project in the link down below. It's going to be on Kickstarter, and you can learn more about it because there's definitely much more to learn.
Exactly.
And if you have any questions about anything you've seen today, feel free to comment down below. We're very happy to chat about this game. We've played over 15 scenarios now. And
probably more than that.
Yeah, probably more than that, to be honest. It's been really fun. So we're always happy to chat Race to the Raft.
Yes, the game always goes really fast because we just like hammer it out. And either fail epically.
No, we save all the cats.
Yeah, or rewind time.
Yeah.
Go back and
no cats left on the island.
Exactly.
Ever. Now, for our question of the day,
there you go.
If you could own a cat of unique colors, because cats are pretty similar shades in general, but if you could have a cat that's one specific color and their eyes could be different colors, they can be multiple colors, what color of a cat would you own?
Swanson.
You just have an orange cat?
Yeah, that's Swanson.
Okay.
I want an orange tabby cat.
That's what you want?
Maybe with bluer eyes.
Bluer eyes.
That's okay.
I think I would want a really bright pink cat, and then its eyes would be blue.
I thought you were gonna say black for a minute. I
no,
was like, that
blue
would be
eyes.
terrifying.
Oh, that'd be kind of funny.
That would be terrifying.
Blue eyes, and I call it bubblegum.
Bubblegum. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. What would your cat combination be?
Yeah, let us know down in the comments below.
Or maybe it's a texture.
Yeah, maybe you're more...
Maybe it's like a cactus cat.
Abstract, like Ilya, or...
Triangle cat? What kind of cat are we thinking here?
Alright, cutting him off right there. If you liked what you saw here, please give us that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and that bell notification because we make
ding, ding.
weekly videos about board games, and we're happy to chat about them all the time.
Check out Race to the Raft and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye!